Welcome back, guys. Let's first of all let's give a round of applause to everyone here today, because the thing that's important here, and I'm going to start before starting the session. I want to start talking about STEP and STEM. So right here we're a few people, but as I told a few minutes ago, there's a lot of people all around the world that are going to be watching this, that are going to be participating in our organization, that are going to be helping spread passion for our three main topics for this year and in general: politics, artificial intelligence, and generally STEM. So with that being said, I'd like to give a quick overview of what we've done in the last few months, because last time we saw each other for STEP and STEM was before the holidays. What happened was we expanded to 6 new countries. We created 16 new branches. That means that, imagine, one person here, your new kids, right? People in your schools or in your areas, they created their own branch. Right now, as we speak, they're leading their own sessions of STEP and STEM, just like I'm doing today. So, some of the places, there's, places in Canada, we have like 4 branches, in New York, all across the US, in different countries. So just, it really creates a bigger sense of community for STEP and STEM. All right, with that being said, let's jump into our first inaugural session of the second year of STEP and STEM. I have a question for you guys, as you see on the board here. What is our world made of? What do you guys think? Anything is welcome, yeah?
I think it's made of people.
People, very good answer.
And socially.
Socially, that's very accurate to what we're going to be talking about. Any ideas here? What's our world made? Yep.
In physics, it's made up of atoms and energy.
Yeah, atoms, energy, matter, of course. Cool. So we got people, we've got atoms, yeah?
It depends. If you ask me, like the world, like the world, the Earth itself, or everything that shapes our world.
Absolutely.
By what we have.
Yeah. Hey, come on in. Of course, it's all ages. So, hey Ava, so we start just talking about STEP and STEM this year. Given a brief overview, we've expanded to a few new countries this summer, 16 new branches, and today is the first inaugural session of the second year. You can take a seat, very informal. So, yeah, do you have any idea? What do you think what's our world made of, guys? So we've had different ideas about more from physics perspective, from a social perspective. Leave the door open. Hello there, Alice.
Sorry.
No problem. Yeah, and you mentioned a good point, because when I say what is our world made of, you think, well, what is even our world? There are different definitions for what our world is. It could be our world like the Earth from a biological perspective, but it could also be the societies that make up the Earth, and that's what we're going to be focusing on today. More specifically, civilizations. Yeah, civilization, because whether it's through space or throughout time, when you think of what embodies a place or a period in history, well, you usually think of a civilization, right? What are some civilizations you guys? Random, yeah.
Romans.
You guys, you don't need to raise your hand, just talk, yeah. Maya, hey, come on. Maya, yeah, absolutely. So is there a bunch of civilizations? What's up?
Are you guys doing
Math?
Yeah.
No?
Okay.
What? Okay, sure. Yeah. Now, throughout today, our topic will be summarized with 3 key words, and they all begin with C. Okay, this is kind of like a treasure hunt. I want you guys to figure out what the 3 C's are for today. Okay, so obviously the first C number 1, civilization. Okay, but before we dive deeper, what actually is a civilization? What's a civilization? What's a civilization?
Maybe like a situation of people
Yeah.
sharing the same language
Mhm.
and habits.
Spot on. Yeah.
And values.
Values. So languages, habits, values. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure there's
No, whatever. Go ahead.
I'm pretty sure there's like a whole acronym describing defining the word civilization.
Perhaps.
It has to do with society, what advanced technology,
Yeah.
written recordings and all that. How society has fulfill all
Yeah.
those things that actually.
Maybe. I haven't heard of that. Yeah.
Culture and social status as well. Social status being, even now there's a social status.
Yeah.
It's not.
Social. Yeah. The status quo. You mentioned one word before that. Keep that in mind.
Juste
Keep
une
that in
question.
mind. Yeah.
Est-ce qu'on peut considérer qu'un village, c'est une civilisation?
A village? I mean, a civilization, I say, is bigger than just a village, right? Because it's like the Romans or the Mayas that you mentioned, the Aztecs, that what we're living in, the Western
Oui,
Empire. Sure, yeah.
Si c'est un village, mais c'est que dans ce village qu'ils parlent cette langue, ils ont leur propre culture.
That's true. That's true. That's, I guess, what we find today. Like, there are tribes in southern Africa that are very secluded. I wouldn't say
That's a society.
exactly. That's a distinction I'd make. What? Yeah.
And maybe like a civilization also has a distinct geographic location.
Absolutely. Physical, like a place in time. Yeah.
I would say it's autosufficient.
It's what? Autosufficient.
Autosufficient. If
Yeah.
a village wouldn't be autosufficient, so this would probably be the reason why it's not considered a civilization. There's not enough people. There's not a strict number of people required to have a civilization.
Yeah.
And I think there's also a big distinction, like having a recognized leader.
A direct what?
A recognized leader.
Recognized leader. That's a good point.
Or a
So-
group of
yeah.
leaders.
Yeah, you mentioned the word self-sufficient. I think that's true to an extent because, civilizations, whether there's villages or towns or cities or countries, they do have trade,
Trade.
Yeah, that's a good point. Anyway, that's kind of tangential because as you guys kind of hit it spot on, Ava, with this at the start and whatever you guys said as well, language, values, habits, things like that. I'd say that the civilization is characterized by three core attributes: the objective, the subjective, and the dynamic. So objective elements, they're tangible, they're measurable. Language, as you mentioned, history, religion, customs, institutions. These are the elements that are the building blocks of a civilization. They give it a distinct identity and a structure. While the objective elements are concrete, there's also subjective elements. They're about perception, about identification. They're concerned with how individuals within a civilization identify with it, emotionally, psychologically, and the connections they hold. For example, two people within the same civilization might actually feel varying degrees of connection to it. They are influenced by their personal experiences, by their beliefs, by their interactions. And final point, dynamic. Well, civilizations aren't static, right? You mentioned that they are defined physically. They're also defined over time. So they can rise to prominence or they can fall into decline. They can divide into distinct different entities or they can merge together to form a new civilization. So, historic examples that are famous, you got the fall of the Roman Empire, you've got the merging of cultures that led to, the modern day European nations. And so this dynamic, it's driven by multiple factors. You've got economic prosperity, you've got technological innovation, you've got military power. So, yeah, I think we give different examples of civilizations. We don't need to go through that. But there's something else that's equally as eternal as civilization. Something that actually connects civilizations together. Do you have any ideas? Go ahead. Beliefs? Yeah, sure. I guess we could say that. Let's try more ideas. Yeah.
We're all human.
That's a very good point. Humanity, that does unite us. Yeah. Symbols. Like what kind of symbols? Like language?
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other ideas? No? Yeah.
I guess I mean sometimes it's like inspiration from one another.
Inspiration, absolutely. Yeah.
Laws.
Perhaps. Yeah.
I guess the roots.
Roots. What do you mean?
Well, from the start of civilization.
That's true. Yeah, the origin. We all share the same origins. It's kind of like linked to humanity. Yeah. Ideologies, ideas. Yeah. So maybe this is kind of a trick question because in my question I said what connects civilizations. Maybe a better way to think of it is what divides civilizations. What breaks them apart? Okay, sure. Beliefs, that's again true. But languages, yeah?
War.
There we go. Because all the things you said are true, but they lead to something, which is war, which is our second C, not war. Clash. Same thing. Clash. So that's our second C. We all see conflict or clash on a daily basis, right? In the context of civilization, this could mean, war, as you said, but it could also mean political tensions or economic competition or general antagonistic animosity between different civilizations. So now I ask you this. What do you think is the cause of this clash of civilizations? Difference. Yeah. People. Yeah. Ego. That's a great answer. Yeah. Any other ideas? No? Yeah.
Selfishness.
Yeah, kind of just linked to ego. No? Okay. So this is all true. But there's, other things you could say, and there are the things that unite us, they also divide us. What if I told you the answer to this question actually already exists? Over 30 years ago, a man was sitting in his old room. He was scribbling away what will become the foundation of modern political science. And today, we will be exploring none other than, well, drum roll please, guys, Huntington's theory of the clash of civilizations. The clash of civilizations, guys. A few years back, there was this guy, Samuel Huntington. He's a super famous professor at Harvard that I really admire. And he, created this clash of civilizations theory. So obviously, I'm not going to tell you right away what this truly means. That would take away all the fun away, right? I'm going to help you guys figure that out for yourself. This is something that we're going to be doing a lot in STEP and STEM sessions. So let's go back to the 3 C's that I mentioned earlier. Right now, we found 2 of them. What are they?
Conflict and civilization.
Yeah, conflict or clash. We're going to use this term clash because it's the name of this theory. So clash and civilizations. What do you think the 3rd C could be?
Culture.
She got it. She got it. Culture, guys. Clash of civilizations and culture. If I were to summarize the whole theory of Samuel Huntington in 3 words, what he's saying is this. What is the clash? Who? The civilization. And why is culture? That's it. World politics is really complicated, but there's a way to simplify this, right? Instead of analyzing 200 different countries, we can just analyze a few civilizations. So today, guys, how do you guys think the world is divided? Yeah? Social classes? Yeah?
Developed countries and then Western and Eastern part. For example, Western is mostly Europe and then America as a whole.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
on this side, you would get like mostly Asia, except for some countries such as Japan. And then when you take all countries that are more India, China, Russia, and all of the smaller countries in these areas, it's usually like more compact.
Yeah. Spot on.
In countries.
Countries, yeah, but we said we want to simplify from countries because 200 countries is really complicated. We don't want to analyze all that. We want to simplify it down, right? Yeah. Very, very good response there. Yeah.
Politics, government, and as a whole.
Yeah. So I'd say those 2 together are giving us what we want to find here. But there's also something that you mentioned that's really important. You mentioned East and the West. East and the West. What do you think of? Cold War. Cold War. During the Cold War, the world was divided into not necessarily 2, but 3 parts. You had the free world led by the US. You had the communist bloc led by the Soviet Union. And you had the non-aligned so-called third world where much of the conflict actually took place in proxy wars. So that pattern of history has disappeared today. But the big question is, what are the patterns of association and of conflict among nations in the post-Cold War world? If we look at the evidence, well, it seems that nations are aligning themselves along cultural lines. Countries with similar cultures coming together, those with different cultures coming apart. For instance, we've seen the breakup of the Soviet Union, we've seen the breakup of Yugoslavia, all along cultural lines, right? We can summarize pretty much all of our world into a few major civilizations that are characterized not necessarily by their politics, but partly, but kind of by their ideas, but I'd say even more than politics or ideas is by their culture. So I want to see what you guys think. Let's see if you guys can figure out, kind of what are the main different groups that you see among the world today. So you mentioned East and West, right? Yeah.
Leftists and people from the left and people from the right.
Yeah, like politically, ideologically, yeah.
Like the blocks of the
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah. So like depending on colonial history as well. So there's countries linked to France actually that's in current affairs. If you look at, there was Niger, there was other countries, a lot of different coups that are because of past colonial history. So that's a very interesting thing. Yeah. So obviously this is Huntington's theory. So I'm not going to give you it away right now. Okay. I'm not going to give away right now how he divides the world because that's his main thesis here. But you're going to see. So let's move on to this, and this is gonna surprise you guys. Huntington, actually no, I'm gonna wait. It's fine. Huntington, he says that the fundamental source of conflict isn't, in this new post-Cold War world, it isn't ideological, it's not economic, but the great divisions among humankind and the dominating source of conflict will be cultural. Let's linger again on this concept of culture again. There's this thing that we all know and love. Memes. Yeah. Memes. Now, you might be thinking, Michael, what the hell are you talking about? Memes? What's the link with geopolitics and strategy? No. Well, there is a big link between culture and memes because actually, they're the same thing. Yeah. In 1976, there's this British evolutionary biologist, Richard Dawkins. He introduced this new powerful concept, the meme. He invented it. So he imagined ideas as living entities. They leap from mind to mind. They evolve and compete for a place in our consciousness. That's what a meme is. It's not just a catchy internet phrase or a Smurf cat or whatever is going on these days. It's any piece of culture that spreads, that changes, that lives through us. Think of all the tales that have been told, for generations, the songs that everyone seems to know, or even the social behaviors we all seem to adopt. Dawkins likened memes to genes because, well, like the carriers of biological traits, they replicate, they mutate, they respond to selective pressures. In every conversation, every shared story, every exchanged idea, memes are actually at work. They shape our world, they define our culture, and they illustrate that, in this big kind of game or, dance of existence, well, it's not just life that evolves, it's ideas that evolve too. So in short, a meme is kind of like a cultural gene, okay? So in a sense, Huntington's theory is that memes, in the original sense of the meme, obviously, will decide global politics because culture is the cause of the clash of civilization, right? Now, okay, actually, I'm going to slip that stuff. We've been talking about clashes, right? But actually, we can distinguish two distinct kinds of clashes. You guys have any ideas? What kinds of clashes are there? Yeah.
Conquering and difference in ideology.
Yeah.
Physical and
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Proxy or from other countries.
Very, very interesting. Yeah.
Oh, there's also economical.
Economics. We've got economic, political, also military. Yeah.
Ideologies, work.
Ideological. Absolutely. Yeah.
direct and indirect.
That's very interesting. What about another thing, more generally than just clashes? But you think of, mentioned economics. In economic theory, there's like two distinct kinds of economic theory you might have heard of. There's economic theory and economic theory. They differ by one letter. You know the words very well. Yeah.
Capitalism and communism.
Not necessarily in this point, but they are linked. And it's what I was trying to talk about is micro and macro. You ever heard of microeconomics, macroeconomics? No? Yeah? Okay, cool. So at the micro level, the battle is personal, right? It's visceral. It's where communities and groups like villages you talked about, they lock horns, their conflicts erupt along the so-called fault lines of adjacent civilizations. There's, skirmishes, there's confrontations. It's all a testament to the divisions that are, deeply, for centuries they've been here by distinct cultural, religious, ideological evolutions. Borders here, they aren't defined by lines on a map, but they're defined by the invisible boundaries of identity. Now, let's transition to the macro level. On the macro level, the narrative is bigger, it escalates. It's no longer just communities, but it's entire nations. Powerhouse states that represent distinct civilizations. They're embroiled in a kind of a relentless pursuit of political and economic hegemony. Each state is a titan. It doesn't just represent a political identity, but it echoes the whole narratives of its civilization. So conflict in the modern world, it unfolds in a chronological narrative. Each era is marked by distinct actors and ideologies that have shaped the global order, the world's geopolitical order, And initially, actually, the world witnessed, you could say, conflicts between princes or city-states. In Prussia and Germany, there was these different principalities, right? Then there was, what's known as the Westphalian system. So it was territorial sovereigns that wielded power. Battles were, raged to expand your realm, your kingdom, whatever you want to call it. And they consolidated royal authority. And actually, it's a pretty good idea for a Step and Stem session now that I think about it. So yeah, tune in soon. But anyway, that epoch in the Middle Ages mostly, it was defined by the territorial integrity and non-interventionism. So boundaries are the authorities, and these boundaries were kind of sacred, right? It's basically saying if you have a country, well, it's yours. I can't do anything to take it. You cannot even stop me. You don't need to stop me because I respect these boundaries, right? It's based on respect. But as history progressed, and actually in the aftermath of the French and American revolutions, there was a transformation. The world pivoted from disputes between princes or principalities to conflicts between nation states. So in this era, there was a lot of nationalism, right? There were nations that weren't just bound by territorial lines, but by an unwavering allegiance to their culture, their language, their religion, their identity, right? Wars weren't just fought for royal prestige or to conquer more space, but for a national identity. You felt that it was a cause that was worth fighting for. You guys have any ideas of conflicts like these where it was not to conquer new territory? Yeah, American Revolution, absolutely. They wanted to show that they are American. They wanted to gain independence. So that's mostly seen as a good thing. But there's also examples of where it's a bad thing. What's the worst? The bad guys. You think of a bad guy, what do you think of?
World War I, II.
Yeah, so what side?
So Germany and the Nazis.
Yeah, the Nazis in particular, right? How did Hitler come to power? He didn't take over, right? He came politically. The people elected Hitler. How? Because he actually, yeah, you want to?
I'm actually 70 right now.
Oh, great.
Yeah, so he offered the people were really, there was a great
Yeah.
depression in Germany before.
Yeah.
The unemployment was very high.
Mhm.
And people, when Hitler arrived, with the Nazi right, the Nazis gave the people an impression of safety. They gave them a world where there was no unemployment, where there was no people not working, where there was basically people being happy and people being safe. And that's why they elected him.
Exactly.
And they were actually also kind of in fear because if they say like no, this is bad, I don't like it, they would be sent away. So not only they have those two aspects. One is the aspect of yes, we want it because we feel like it's good, and the aspect of we can't say no to it.
Yeah, absolutely, exactly. Yeah.
And also, like, the intent is that he promised that all the problems with the city if he wanted to take over.
Yeah, absolutely. It's exactly what you said, and you completed it. And it's, again, this idea of nationalism. It's saying, guys, we're together, we're united, we have the same idea, we're fighting the same fight, right? So, exactly. Then you had the Cold War after that. And so that was another kind of paradigm shift. It was an era of ideological conflicts. There was the world, which was polarized between the capitalist West and the communist East, as you talked about. So there was a silent, but it was really a palpable confrontation, right? It wasn't just a battle of military prowess, but it was really a big struggle between two contrasting worldviews, each seeking a kind of global preeminence. It wasn't a battle between soldiers, it was a battle between ideas and cultures. So we talked about what a civilizational clash is. But why do civilizations clash? Any ideas, guys? Why do civilizations clash?
Because they're not happy with the rules they have anymore.
Yeah?
Maybe like ego shows that they are superior.
Absolutely, yeah. They want to seek to show they're better, yeah.
They can't like live in the same place with these people because they should already be in their territory.
Yeah.
Or maybe because they're like the bad guys or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't speak German. I think it was Lebensraum in German, like living space. Is that bad pronunciation? I know. Yeah.
Also, it's like religion and like territorial conflict. Like if you look at the Russian-Ukraine war and then what's happening in Israel,
Yep.
it's all those ways about like, Israel is about religion and territory.
Yep.
Territory. Then you got Russia, Ukraine, which is only territory, but also really not culture.
Yeah, it is territory. You could also say it's culture because the Russians think it is theirs. Anyways, we're not here to talk about that. Yeah.
It's a mix of everything that we've said before, like political, economical, and beliefs.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily just that the leaders, rather the whole idea of the country, for example, for the US versus the USSR, the Soviets, it wasn't just clashing between Truman or
Yeah. Right.
versus Stalin. It was like the ideas that they had.
Exactly.
But,
Yeah.
and it was also to get more alliances because you want to be in an alliance with somebody you can rely on. You can usually make friends with those who have similar ideas. Otherwise, you're always in dispute, and you don't want that. So
Absolutely. Yeah, you want to add something?
Yeah, and also like in the Cold War, it wasn't always direct. There was only one in the whole Cold War period. There was only one event when the Russians actually fought against the Americans
Really?
directly. It was in the Korean War.
Ah,
And
interesting. I didn't know
yeah,
that.
and that was the only event. But in the whole Cold War, it wasn't. It was just we support the Allies, we don't support the Allies.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. So it's kind of what you guys said. It's first of all, it's indirect, and it's also a battle of ideas, right? So yeah, that's in the specific case of the Cold War. But today, right, you have once again civilizations. This is Huntington's theory, right? So he says that there are 6 different explanations, right? First one, it's what we've all said. The differences among civilizations are too basic in that civilizations are differentiated by history, language, culture, ideas, tradition, religion as well. So these are foundational, fundamental things that define civilizations. So they're not going to be gone, right? Russia, they speak Russian. They're not going to not speak Russian unless a catastrophe happens. It's something that is ingrained within them, and it's going to stay for centuries to come. The second explanation is that the world is becoming a smaller place. Yeah, we haven't talked about that, but as a result, there's more interactions between different parts of the world, and there's this thing called civilizational consciousness. It means that there's an awareness of differences between civilizations and also common points between them. The third one is that there's economic modernization, there's social change. So people are separated from long-standing local identities. Instead, there's religion that's replaced this gap and provides a basis for identity, for commitment that transcends just national boundaries but unites civilizations. So we're in different countries, for example, but we're still united by a shared idea, even though we don't live next to each other. Another one is that the growth of civilizational consciousness that I talked about is enhanced by a dual role of the West. Yeah, because on the one hand, you got the West that is at its peak of power. That's what everyone says. But at the same time, there's a return to roots phenomenon that's occurring among non-Western civilizations. So we're going to talk about that in more detail later. But there's a bunch of countries today that are not in the West that are like, well, why should I listen to you guys? What contract, what binding agreement says that I have to listen to you? No, I'm a sovereign state. I have my own tradition, my own culture, my own civilization that makes me independent. There's another idea, which is just generally culture, but that's kind of encompasses everything we've talked about. And finally, as you mentioned earlier, there's this thing called economic regionalism. So basically, it's every kind of region is separated by itself economically. You guys know the New Deal in the Great Depression. There was this, FDR. He was saying, well, we have to separate ourselves from Europe because Europe is struggling. We don't want to do that. We don't want to trade with them. We have to just keep it inside. So yeah, that's essentially that idea there. Now, I want you guys to picture a world where conflicts aren't just confined to the borders of the nations involved, but once again, imagine where there's a full-scale war between countries that resonates far beyond its boundaries. Not just something that we see kind of on the border of Ukraine and Russia more than a year ago now, where there was troops on the different border and they attacked militarily on the border. It's something that's bigger, right? It's something that rallies different, perhaps smaller countries all across the world. We saw this in the Cold War a bit. Countries that are not next to each other, they come together for a common cause. Even though we're not, adjacent, we still are united by, this shared belief. There's this thing called the kin country syndrome. That's what we're talking about here. It's like an unspoken pact of brotherhood between different nations that kind of silently binds them if they have the same culture. When one's in turmoil, well, the other, because it shares the same roots, it kind of says, well, I'm going to help them out. There's this pull towards them and to support their kin, right? And kin, it's kind of this same dynamic here. You guys remember the Gulf War a few years back? Well, it wasn't just a conflict between two countries. It was a stage where all civilizations played their role. They had these little countries that contributed. There was this kind of shift and dance of different alliances that was very chaotic, very changing over time. So once again, borders, they aren't just geographic. Borders are cultural. Borders are civilizational. And every conflict, it isn't just a war, but it's this kind of a clarion call that there are profound connections that exist between nations that share the same civilization. And this kin country syndrome, it isn't just a theory, it's a reality, right, that we see in different wars today, and we're going to keep seeing in the future. So, today we've talked a lot about the West in particular, because after all, we are part of the West, right? I have a question for you guys. What do you guys think are the consequences of the clash of civilizations on the future of the West? What's the consequence? There's this clash of civilizations. What's the consequence on the West?
Maybe it will start to lose its power.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Crumble.
It's going to crumble? Potentially.
It's shown that like every big empire isn't as united as like one country, one whole country, and Europe isn't. It's several countries that have deals together. They're not one country. So at one point it should like there's a part of Europe that is attracted to other benefits.
Yeah, I get it. So yeah, that's pretty much it. But still, we've talked about what unites different countries, even though they're not in the same zone. It's still this identity of culture. But I get what you mean. Be what? Angst? Oh, Einstein. Okay. Oh, the Fourth World War, sticks and stones. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, EU.
For example,
Yeah. So you guys have talked about this kind of division. You talked about breaking down of the West. But all of this supposes something else. It supposes that the West is kind of on its own. That there's this dynamic that we call the West versus the rest. This is an important term because here, the terms the world community, the free world, they aren't just universal entities, but they're seen as banners of kind of Western dominance, the West imposing it on other people. So in this narrative, the West, with its kind of deep roots in the Enlightenment, in the European values, democracy, capitalism, it isn't just a geographic or a political entity. It is a civilizational force that advocates its values as universal. So it intends for them to be adopted, to be respected, to be echoed everywhere. It doesn't depend where you live or where you are, you must respect our ideas. This is what, Huntington's saying. But here's where the plot twists. This kind of universalist outlook is not met with acceptance, it's met with resistance. It's met with skepticism and even defiance from non-Western civilizations. This is what we talked about a few minutes back. There's a growing realization that, Western norms aren't the sole proprietors of universal truth. If you're in the West and you tell me what to do, why should I listen to you? Now, this applies obviously with the East or with whatever region you want to say, but de facto in the world, that's what we see. It comes from the West. So, in this dynamic, there are different civilizations, notably in Asia or in the Middle East, that are kind of they're not just passive recipients of Western values, but they're active defenders and promoters of their own rich and diverse different cultures, right? So, as we wrap up, let's bring Huntington's class of civilizations right to your doorstep. You see, this isn't just a theory that's discussed in the halls of academia and universities, things like that. It's actually happening in our daily lives. You can see it everywhere. Nation states have always acted out of national interest. They're defining their national interests in cultural terms. They see countries with different cultures as threats. And on the contrary, they see countries with similar cultures as friends. Western culture in particular is quite unique, right? Because all people, they wish to be modern. That's what we suppose. But that doesn't mean they all wish to be Western. Think about the last news article that you shared with your friends or different cultural debates you've had, on social media. Every tweet, every share, every Instagram comment, it's not just something that's, leaving, it's staying there. It's kind of a way for you to participate in the global conversation and a way for you to navigate the global clash of civilization. There's this quote by Napoleon that you read here that I think is very interesting. There are only two forces in the world, the sword and the spirit. And in the long run, the sword will always be conquered by the spirit. There we go, guys. So, I hope that was interesting, but we're not done. Because now is an interesting part. You might have noticed that I talked to you earlier about the theory that Huntington proposed of different civilizations in the world. I didn't tell you what those were, though. That's to you to figure out. So I'm going to pass out, this is a map of the world, guys. I want you guys to tell me what you guys think are the different civilizations in the world. Okay? So you can help me pass these out, or? So get some pencil or whatever. Pass it over here. No, I'm good. Yeah, so spend obviously you can talk with everyone, you can move around, guys, just feel free.
What's the book from?
Oh, book. Actually, I forgot. What did you say, when's it from? 1993. Yeah, wait, let me...
Tu l'as vraiment?
Of course, this is a great book, one of my favorite books.
Genre
Of
en
course.
entier?
Yeah, this is a fantastic book. If you want to learn about global politics, guys, this is the book.
Ça a pris environ combien de temps?
I don't know, like a few weeks, 3 weeks, a month.
Donc il est long. Mais ça a pris quelques mois à l'analyser ou à juste lire?
It's a really famous theory, so yeah, it's kind of destructive. It's fine. Yeah, it's because my bag is.
Donc là, on doit souligner.
So yeah, just like color or with a pencil, just divide what the world is made of, right?
Genre les Ouest et.
Yeah, whatever you want. Guys, don't just limit yourself to like 2 or 3. You can put like 50, or not 50, but you can put a bunch if you want, right? It's just a way to simplify from 200. Yeah, pass it around. Right? Oh, of course, great. Maybe not. But no, this plus Henry Kissinger's books is like the 2 must if you want to learn about global politics. Alrighty, let's see. Very nice. Okay.
Bear with. No, bear.
I'm bearing.
Shut up. This is Africa, right? This is Asia.
That's the Middle East and Asia, yeah.
Yeah, so
That's
it's
the Middle
this.
East.
Je cherche le Maroc.
Ah ouais.
C'est pas où il est le Maroc? Le Maroc, il est.
Morocco is. No, that's Algeria. I think it's
Le Maroc,
this one.
c'est là.
Non, c'est là, c'est là.
C'est ça le
C'est le
Maroc.
plus proche de l'Espagne.
Ah, ok.
Up.
What country is this?
Mais le Maroc, c'est pas Western.
That's Scandinavia. So it's Finland, Norway, Sweden.
C'est le meilleur ami des Suèdes.
Ah ouais? Et l'Algérie?
It's not part of the way. It's your classification. Want to check it out? I think you really like it. Wait, is it Asia or Asia? How do you put it? Oh, okay, whatever.
L'Ukraine aussi.
Non, l'Ukraine.
Ah, c'est l'Ukraine.
Shaded.
Elle voulait entrer en OTAN.
Oui, mais
East Asia.
la
That's
Russie.
China.
Non, mais elle voulait déjà entrer en OTAN avant. Ça
Et
fait
parce
un
que
bon
vous
moment.
avez peur de la Russie.
Ouais, on peut les... Moi, je vais ça comme Ouest.
It's fine. It's
La
your
Roumanie.
classification. It's not mine, not someone else's.
Elle est dans l'Union
Yeah, no,
Européenne.
yeah, that's all Asia.
Ça fait
Yeah.
pas.
That's Middle East. That's Asia. But
L'Italie.
put whatever you want.
L'Italie, ouais.
La Suisse, elle est neutre.
La Suisse, c'est rien du tout. C'est
Bah, en vrai, la Suisse, c'est un peu la
Which one?
banque.
That one? Is that? It's not Saudi Arabia. That's.
La Pologne,
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Oh, is that not? Not Syria.
la Sketch,
Iran?
la Croatie,
I think that's Iran.
c'est la Roumanie, la Bulgarie, c'est Ouest. La Serbie, faut faire gaffe parce que la Serbie, c'est pas Ouest.
Okay, we're gonna present it to everyone. All right, guys, are we almost there?
No,
No? A few more minutes? Okay. That's China. I don't know.
attends, mais est-ce que la Lituanie c'est Ouest?
C'est ce que tu veux. C'est vraiment.
Ce que je veux,
Je trouve pas Corée du Sud.
La Corée du Sud,
Je trouve pas Corée.
c'est juste à côté, regarde, c'est à côté du Japon, c'est là. C'est là, c'est là. Ah si, le Japon il est là, du coup, c'est ce que j'ai dit. Le Japon. Non, le Japon il a pas d'armée, mais quand même. L'Australie aussi. L'Australie.
Ouais, mais c'est pas ultra important.
L'Israël, il faut mettre l'Israël.
Israël, c'est. Oh, c'est tout.
Putain, mais je suis un truc de con. J'ai mis.
Okay, we're gonna. I think we're gonna finish.
Il y a l'Australie.
Ouais, mais
We're gonna finish a few minutes.
There,
Is that
there's
all right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. More for like. Yep. We're gonna present it, guys. We're gonna present your views. All right. Are we almost getting there?
Wait a bit.
Sure.
Michael,
Tell me.
geographically, where's India?
Yeah,
I failed geography.
It's fine.
I failed it.
you didn't have geography
You
anyway.
don't know.
Il y a l'Afghanistan.
Like, what's the
Il y a
name of
l'Afghanistan.
Myanmar. There you go.
Yes.
Myanmar is like a shrunken part of India. Like they're identical in
Sure. Whatever.
Like they look absolutely.
Yeah. All right. I think we're gonna finish a few.
That's Myanmar, right? No, this is Myanmar.
Oh, je l'ai
Previously
Petit
Burma.
pays du Middle East, là.
Il y a le Canada, il faut mettre le Canada. Il y a le Groenland, et l'Alaska.
All right.
Bah non, parce que c'est là où il y a la réserve de plantes au cas où en troisième, il y a une troisième guerre nucléaire où il y a une catastrophe. Et bah il y a toutes les graines. Enfin, c'est une énorme
Alright, guys.
avec un énorme bunker.
Can we
Genre,
finish up, wrap it up, and
c'est
I'm done.
ultra important.
Cool. So now we're gonna. What I want you guys to do is, did you guys do it like individually or by groups? Individually, I think. Yeah.
A bit.
So okay, first of all, who wants to come up and present? Anyway, people are gonna present. Come on up. Emile, you wanna come on up?
Mais j'ai pas.
Ava, come on up. Lily, come on up. Jerry, come on up. And Big Barf, that's what I'm gonna call you now. All right. Okay, maybe not ever. All right, whatever.
It's like everyone with all.
What? All right, chill. Okay, so everyone's coming. Great, fantastic. All right, guys. So quickly, like maybe 20 seconds each. Each of you, I want you guys to say, come on in frame. Come on. Each of you, I want you guys to say how many civilizations you divided it. Whoa. Hang on, buddy. There's no right or wrong. This is different theories. So quickly say how many you have, and then I want you guys to say which one. So first, how many? Let's pass through each one. So how many? Alice.
What? Oh, mine. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, you're
So we didn't really have time to do a lot, but we like divided it mostly in the.
Just say how many, and what number.
Well, for now,
Yeah.
we only got one.
Okay.
So we got like the three main superpowers.
Yeah.
So USA, Russia, and China.
Right.
So yeah.
Okay. Cool.
There you go.
Big Barth.
5, I think.
5. Nice. 3. 7. Yeah. 5. How many?
How many countries?
Civilizations.
Oh.
Okay. So
5.
7. Cool. 6. Jerry. 4. Gaspar. Same. Okay. Cool. Cool. All right. Now, chill out. You're gonna see it in a minute. Now, guys. Okay. Cool. Now, guys, say a bit of, or like look around each other, and let's see after like a few seconds if you see similarities or differences. Just a few more minutes.
It's on record. I'm
It's
not
gonna be on
say
YouTube tomorrow. Hang on, I'm gonna show it to you. Alright, don't. You can check the minutes. Just wait a minute. Wait a minute. Alright.
Pretty much.
Okay. Alright, guys. So, guys, file up. So, tell me, guys, just a few people, whoever wants to talk, tell me what are the main civilizations you identified? Yeah.
We had the West and the three countries.
Okay.
For example,
Yeah.
We had used the United
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Any other? Yeah.
And so I had a talk with the Middle East,
Mhm. Middle East.
and
Yeah.
then the West, the US,
Right.
and then countries that link back to Russia, China, and North Korea.
Okay. Yeah.
We had the superpowers,
Superpowers. Okay.
the U.S. and Russia, and China and India, and then we also had the ones which were sometimes relevant, but sometimes they're absolutely useless.
Interesting. So you put them together by power. I was thinking more of a culture approach, but sure.
To find culture, I think
It's
you
fine.
need a good thing to use is food. Because like it's like for example Laos and China has similar like food, so it could be like a similar culture.
Interesting.
How
Perhaps.
Yeah, so France and Italy is
Yeah.
It's
Wait, do you mean amount of food or type?
Bro, but then again,
Type,
that does
okay.
say a lot about England's
Yeah, but food does talk about culture, right?
Food also depends on the climate.
Yes, absolutely.
It depends. There's a lot of things that also depends on the
Yeah,
climate.
absolutely.
And on agriculture.
Yeah. All right, guys. You want me to show you what Huntington says? So let's see how you compare it to a famed Harvard professor. All right, come on back, guys. So, Big Samuel Huntington. This is what he said. You ready, guys?
They're beautiful.
9 civilizations. 9, guys. These are what they are. You've got the Western in dark blue. You've got the Orthodox, meaning the Russian Soviet bloc. You've got the Islamic, so the Middle East and a bit of North Africa. You've got the Buddhist, so you've got countries in East Asia. You've got Hindu. Wait, can you see that? Hindu. You've got India and a few countries surrounding it. You've got the African, so mostly sub-Saharan Africa. You've got Latin America, self-explanatory, and Central as well inside. You've got the Cynic, so China is kind of separate according to Samuel Huntington, and you've got the Japanese, which is also kind of separate. So I'd say it was pretty similar to what you guys said in some respects, specifically the East and the West, which are the main ones that we all know. But I think it's really interesting to see how in East Asia it's really complicated and much more complex, which it could be a good, could be a bad thing. Yeah.
He did by religion mostly.
He did do by religion and culture. For him, religion and culture are very similar. But yeah, so you've got these 9 civilizations, and they all emerge from, as you said at the start, I think, from one single source, which is humanity. And I think that's very beautiful. All the diversity and the complexity that can emerge in human behavior in, throughout history and throughout space. Space and time. Yeah, I think it was Carl Sagan that said, humanity or politics, or whatever you want to call it, is what happens when you give hydrogen atoms 14 billion years. That's what happens. So I think that's a beautiful way to end it. This is Global Politics with Samuel Huntington's theory, The Clash of Civilizations. See you guys next Monday, guys. Thank you.